Have you ever had a moment where everything seems clear, as if a veil has lifted, and you feel the most peaceful you've ever been? But then, just when you think you've reached a state of permanent bliss, life hits you with a challenge that shakes you to your core. What happens next? Is spiritual awakening just about bliss, or is there more to this journey than we've been told? Spiritual awakening is often portrayed as a journey toward ultimate peace, bliss, and transcendence. It's something many people aspire to, seeking enlightenment, inner peace, and liberation from suffering. But is spiritual awakening really just about experiencing pure bliss? Is it all about basking in a perpetual state of joy and contentment? In truth, the path to spiritual awakening is far more complex, nuanced, and, at times, challenging than what is often depicted in mainstream spiritual culture. It's not just about transcendent moments of euphoria, nor is it a linear journey. Many people are drawn to the idea of spiritual awakening because of the way it's presented in books, movies, and teachings. The allure of becoming enlightened and free from the struggles of daily life is tempting. We hear stories of sages, monks, and mystics who experience moments of profound bliss, connecting deeply with the divine or the universe. This idealized vision of spiritual awakening focuses on the sense of peace, joy, and transcendence that can arise during such experiences. And indeed, moments of bliss can be a genuine aspect of spiritual awakening. However, to consider bliss as the only goal of this journey is to miss out on its fuller depth and transformative potential. Take a moment and reflect. Have you ever felt like you were on the verge of something transformative, only to be pulled back into the chaos of life? What did that feel like? How did it shape your understanding of what awakening really means? Spiritual awakening often begins with a sense of discontent or longing, a feeling that there must be more to life than what we are currently experiencing. It's a yearning for deeper meaning, a quest for truth, or a desire to break free from the confines of a limited, ego-based existence. This initial longing can feel intense, even uncomfortable, as it challenges the familiar patterns and beliefs we've held about ourselves and the world around us. This is where many spiritual seekers get discouraged. The initial bliss that they may have felt during moments of awakening often gives way to a sense of emptiness or confusion. The desire for pure joy can conflict with the inner chaos that is sometimes an inherent part of the process. It's important to understand that this sense of disorientation is not a sign that one is failing on the spiritual path. It is actually an essential part of the transformation. The process of spiritual awakening often involves deconstructing old belief systems, letting go of false identities, and confronting deeply held fears and insecurities. This is rarely a blissful experience. It can be messy, uncomfortable, and even painful. It's a necessary part of the journey toward true liberation. A key part of spiritual awakening, especially in the early stages, is what's known as the dark night of the soul. This is when everything feels like it's falling apart: relationships, beliefs, self-worth. It's the storm before the calm, and while it's often intensely painful, it's also a period of immense growth. It's a necessary challenge in the transformation process. As we awaken, these hidden aspects often rise to the surface. This might manifest as unresolved emotional wounds, old traumas, or repressed desires. The shadow represents the parts of us that we would rather not see, but to achieve true spiritual growth, we must confront and integrate these aspects of ourselves. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, not knowing whether to jump or retreat. The ground beneath your feet starts to crumble as your old self begins to dissolve. In that moment, there is no bliss, only the terrifying unknown. And yet, it's the very act of stepping into this uncertainty that leads to the most profound revelations. You may have heard stories of spiritual teachers who seem to float in a sea of peace, but what you don't often hear are the struggles, the doubts, the intense moments of inner conflict they faced before reaching that state. Their journey wasn't just about bliss. It was about going through the darkness and emerging stronger and more aware. Even as we begin to experience more lasting moments of bliss, it's important to recognize that awakening is not a permanent state of unbroken euphoria. Life continues to unfold, and with it, new challenges and obstacles will inevitably arise. The idea that spiritual awakening will bring about a constant state of bliss is, in many ways, a misconception. Spiritual growth is cyclical, not linear. There will be periods of deep peace and expansion, followed by moments of contraction and challenge. These fluctuations are part of the natural rhythm of the process. The bliss that many people seek through awakening is often a byproduct of deeper work, not the primary goal. When the ego finally begins to dissolve, when the layers of conditioning and illusion are peeled away, it's only then that the peace and contentment many associate with awakening can truly arise. The process of awakening involves confronting the ego, the part of us that wants to remain in control and separate from others. When we awaken, we are essentially surrendering the need for control, and that can feel like losing part of ourselves. It's terrifying at first, but this ego dissolution is precisely what opens us up to true freedom. It's not about detaching from the world or becoming a passive observer. True awakening means being fully present and engaged with life, while also being aware of our deeper nature, the interconnectedness of all things, and the impermanence of the self. It's about learning to live in a way that honors both our individual experiences and our universal nature. Bliss is not something that happens to us or something we can simply grasp and hold on to. Rather, it is an experience that arises naturally when we let go of our attachment to the fleeting, impermanent nature of worldly pleasures and pain. Across cultures and time periods, the human quest for awakening has been driven by the same fundamental search for truth and meaning. Whether it's the Buddha's quest for enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, or modern-day seekers searching for answers, we all share the same desire: to transcend suffering and find a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the universe. And yet, even in this universal search, awakening takes on different forms. For example, while many spiritual traditions talk about enlightenment in terms of bliss or ecstasy, others, like certain schools of Zen Buddhism, emphasize the acceptance of ordinary life's inherent suffering. In fact, some Zen teachings stress that awakening happens precisely when we stop trying to escape from life's messiness and embrace it fully. There is a temptation in spiritual circles to seek out highs and transcendent experiences as a way to avoid the deeper, more difficult aspects of personal transformation. However, spiritual awakening is not about escaping the world, but about engaging with it more fully, more consciously. It's about being able to hold the fullness of human experience, joy, sorrow, success, failure, pleasure, and pain, without becoming overly identified with any of it. This is where true spiritual freedom lies. Imagine someone going through immense personal hardship. Perhaps they've lost a loved one or faced a career crisis. It's during these difficult moments that the potential for deep spiritual transformation exists. The pain can become the catalyst for the kind of awakening that leads to profound peace and understanding. Think about Eckhart Tolle, who experienced a dramatic shift in consciousness after a period of deep depression. His journey wasn't about bliss, but about surrendering to the present moment and breaking free from the constant chatter of the mind. His awakening came through the dissolution of his ego, not through chasing blissful experiences. You might be wondering, what does all this mean for my day-to-day life? It's in the way you handle stress at work, how you respond when someone cuts you off in traffic, or how you show up for your friends and loved ones. True spiritual awakening starts with the small, often overlooked moments of daily life. It's not about waiting for some mystical experience. It's about realizing the divine is already within you, in every thought, action, and interaction. Patience is one of the most essential virtues during spiritual awakening. There will be moments where it feels like you're not progressing, as though the darkness and confusion are endless. But this, too, is part of the journey. The darkness is not something to fear. It's an integral part of the transformation. Just like a seed that must push through the soil to grow, spiritual awakening requires you to navigate discomfort. Don't rush through the process. There is no set timeline or predefined milestone. Spiritual growth is highly personal, and comparing your journey to others can be a hindrance. Perhaps you've read about others experiencing profound shifts in consciousness and felt disheartened because your experience isn't as dramatic. But awakening isn't about achieving a specific state of bliss. It's about deepening into the truth of who you are. There is no finish line, only the ongoing discovery of your authentic self. The truth is, the more we let go of our attachment to bliss, the more we open ourselves up to something deeper. Awakening isn't about achieving a perfect state. It's about being fully present with whatever comes, with all its beauty and messiness. So, what are you willing to let go of today in order to experience the fullness of life tomorrow? When you're in doubt about your journey, remember, while moments of deep peace and joy may arise, the journey is about much more than that. It's about confronting our inner darkness, letting go of false beliefs, and undergoing a deep transformation at the level of the psyche and consciousness. It's about embracing the fullness of life, with all its ups and downs, and learning to respond to it with greater awareness, compassion, and understanding. The true goal of spiritual awakening is not the pursuit of bliss, but the liberation from the illusion of separation and the realization of our interconnectedness with all that is. So, if you're on the path of awakening, don't be discouraged by the challenges and struggles you encounter along the way. They are an essential part of the process. Trust that in time, you will come to discover a deeper, more lasting form of peace that transcends the fleeting nature of bliss and lasts beyond any experience or emotion.